I have decided to make a YouTube video talking about yesterday's sea weather a little bit more in depth on the cap that took place in the squall line. But I do want to talk about the pattern that looks fairly quiet over the next 1 to maybe 2 weeks. But some states like Nebraska, Iowa, and South and East have peak tornado season starting coming up in a couple weeks, which will last until June or July. But again, that is peak tornado season then. These are the storm reports from the SPC for yesterday's severe weather. The green indicates wind damage of 58 miles an hour or more with winds too. The hail is the blue area, and the red indicates the tornado reports. A couple of tornadoes have been reported, including one in Iowa and another one or two in Illinois. There's also one in Missouri. The black squares or black triangles represent like destructive hail, so it's like bigger than tennis ball size, even if the baseball size hail happened. And the other, like the squares, represent the damaging wind gusts that reach at least 75 miles an hour or greater. There's some wind gust reports of near 90 miles an hour in northern Illinois. Here is a forecast sounding from the National Weather Service down in the Quad Cities since at 4 p.m. last night. This is from the weather balloons. So, because storms didn't form like as deeply yesterday or as strong or like as widespread, that because a strong cap was in place. And you can see the cap is indicated by the green line as at its dew point that is very far left, about 1,000 to 3,000 feet up. The red line on the thermal profiles, which is close to the green line, that indicates the temperatures at 4 p.m. yesterday. And you can see that it was warmer, about 1,000 to 2,000 feet up than at the surface, which means temperatures surface were in the 60s, but aloft they were probably in the 70s, maybe the upper 60s. The bottom left, in that square area, that is all the kinematics that were in place. As you see, that was very high. Those kinematics were very extreme. That is the main reason the SPC issued a moderate risk, upgraded to a moderate risk on Tuesday, was because the kinematics and ingredients were very high. They were in place for a big severe weather outbreak, even a tornado outbreak again. But the cap held in place, which allowed for storms not to develop. But if they did develop, they would intensify really quickly and would become widespread. In probably less than an hour, we'd have so many warnings then. We are now done talking about the severe weather review from yesterday's severe weather. We want to start talking about the pattern over the next 1 to 2 weeks, the jet stream, the very warm temperatures that are coming, and maybe another, severe weather setups that will be coming maybe a couple weeks or so. Now, here is a look at the jet stream for the beginning of next week, and you can see, it is quite strong, but it is north of the region. A very, big ridge will be in place across the Midwest that will allow for very warm conditions. Thankfully, not that humid yet, but it will allow for very warm and a quiet pattern. Any severe weather will be across like North Dakota in the middle of next week, but no big severe weather is expected for the region or in much of the country. Here is another look at the ridge that will be in place in the middle of next week then, but it will be in place for all of next week too. You can see, the orange colors, that's very warm, very above average temperatures that are in place. And that will allow for that jet stream to just go north and west of the region. Down south, it has more blue, but it will still be quite warm down there. These are just the temperatures for one day next week, but this is a look at the temperatures for about next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be the time frame. You can see widespread 60s and 70s and even some 80s are likely next week. Could even see a 90 degree or two across portions of Nebraska and Kansas. Now, cooler temperatures in the 50s will be expected into like the Dakotas because they still have a pretty deep snowpack. Now, we are getting closer to the season where it starts getting humid and muggy, but even with strong warm fronts moving north, well, the warm fronts won't be as strong then, because dew points will only be in the 40s and 50s, which is not muggy or humid at all. So next week will just be very warm, but it won't be humid or anything. I do think that we'll start getting some like more muggy conditions later this month, though, especially if we get some stronger warm fronts. Here is a look at the climate prediction center's 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. And you can see it is above average for much of the region, which means the pattern will likely turn more active as we get into the middle and end of April. And with troughs being favorable enough, I do think the severe weather pattern will start to get active again in a couple weeks from now, probably like 3rd and 4th week of April. As an example, this is a model's depiction of a trough going into next weekend, which again is over a week out, so don't get caught up on this. But this will be a favorable trough ejecting out of Colorado for a severe weather setup. Models have several of these starting in the middle to end of next week and continuing through the rest of April. So I do think in about a week and a half or two, we'll be talking about severe weather again. Thank you, everyone, for watching.